Black Op Radio presents 50 Reasons for 50 Years. Why the Warren Commission may be the greatest fraud perpetrated on the American public. Now your host, Len Osanek.
Tonight, our look at the Warren Commission continues with the story of Rose Cherami. Abandoned on a Louisiana highway days before the assassination, she spoke to numerous witnesses, including a policeman, about a plot to assassinate the president in Dallas. Author Jim DiEugenio describes this clear example of foreknowledge in the murder that the Warren Commission should have known about.
This is Jim DiEugenio. On the evening of November the 20th, 1963, a woman named Rose Cherami, who had a drug addiction problem and was linked to Jack Ruby's Carousel Club, was found on a Louisiana highway north of New Orleans. She was taken into custody and put in an emergency ward at a public hospital. Lieutenant Francis Fruget, who handled these kinds of cases, was at a policeman's ball that night. He was called by the supervisor of the hospital and told to come over, and see what he could do with the woman. He did. He talked to her, found out what her name was, and they decided to move her to a hospital which was more of a public institution and did not charge for emergency actions. So as they got her into a car, in this car ride, she began to say the most extraordinary things about how President Kennedy was going to be assassinated a few days later in Dallas. And Fruget didn't think anything of it because he just thought it was the ravings of a drug-addled woman who needed a fix. So he just went ahead and kept on driving up there, dropped her off at the hospital. The day of the Kennedy assassination, he calls the hospital and says, "Don't give that woman to anybody else until I interview her." He had found out, of course, that she knew what she was talking about. So he went back to the hospital, picked her up, and she started telling him this story about how she knew this information. That she had been driving in a car with two men, and they had been talking about killing Kennedy. She had also been involved in a drug deal. She went ahead and described all the aspects of this drug deal, where the transaction was going to take place, where the drugs were coming in at, on what ship they were coming in at, etc. Then she said that she had known that Ruby and Oswald had to know each other because she saw Oswald together with Ruby at one of his saloons because she had worked there for a short time. So with all this information, Fruget then decided that he should call the Dallas authorities to see if they wanted to talk to the woman. So he and his supervisor talked to Wilfritz, and they said no, that they weren't interested in this other information. They had solved the case. What happened, of course, is that Fruget began to check out for information. Everything about the drug deal checked out. When Jim Garrison went ahead and reopened the case in 1967, he decided to give him pictures of particular suspects, and he went back to the bar that Cherami was in before the two gentlemen threw her out, and the barkeeper, Mac Manuel, ID'd two of the photographs as being Sergio Arcacha Smith and Emilio Santana. These, of course, are two men who surfaced very strongly in the Jim Garrison investigation.
As recently as November 2012, new information continues to surface, namely that within days of the assassination, the FBI visited both the jail and hospital in Eunice, Louisiana, and seized all records pertaining to Rose Cherami. Those records have never been seen again.
Stay tuned for the next installment as we expose week after week 50 lies the Warren Commission would like you to believe.